Hello, just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who came up to me at the event of Henley Women's this weekend and had so many positive things to say about the podcast. I really, really, really appreciate it. And every single one of you meant something. So thank you very much. We now do have an official Instagram for the podcast. It is called Only Dead Fish Podcast. You should be able to find it on my Instagram. I will double check that I have put it up there. But that is where a lot of the announcements will be sort of moving forwards. Please also remember to follow the podcast on Spotify and give it a rating. If you think it's crap, go for it. And if you think it's good, that'd be great. Thank you. Welcome to your weekly reminder, Only Dead Fish Go With The Flow. Today is a bit of a unique episode because it's just me and myself. I actually did have something pre-recorded for this Wednesday, but I felt that it's probably better for next Wednesday. And I felt that the recovery episode with Esme Booth was so well received that we could actually do something else in the heat of the season that is racing and competing at the moment, and add another sort of tips and tricks, top tips. So today's episode you'll see is called Shit, Shower and Shave. And I thought I would basically talk you through what I used to do pre-racing as an athlete. And I think it kind of has to be a solo episode because everyone is so personal for what is their perfect race day routine. And so I didn't really want to pry into that too much because, it's personal, it's top secret. It might be special to you. I don't want to invade your privacy on that one. So I thought I will just tell you about what I used to do. So, my sport was rowing. That I have, it's a great sport. We've talked a lot about it on this podcast, so I don't think we really need to delve in too much about rowing and all of that. We don't need to give it more airtime than necessary. However, my sporting ick, and it's not niche, and maybe it's an over-exaggeration to call it an ick, but not bringing a water bottle to a training session and then being surprised when you feel like shit afterwards. So I have been so guilty to this. Like, I've forgotten to bring my water bottle, but also in my time as a coach, so many people just didn't bring a water bottle into the gym. They bring it to the session, but for some reason it never makes it into the gym or into the boat or next to the bike where they're about to do 90 minutes of endurance training. Maybe it's a bugbear, maybe it's an ick, maybe, whatever. So I've looked this up, and I was always told if you're dehydrated, you lose 20% of your performance. And that seems to be quite an extreme percentage. So anyway, I did a bit of a Google this morning as I was lying in bed because, I don't want to spread fake news. So there's a study done in 2003 suggests if you are 2% dehydrated, in that you've lost 2% of your body mass, that is going to lead to a 10% drop in your sporting performance if you're doing endurance performance. So running, cycling, swimming if it's a long way, rowing if it's a long way, whatever sport it is, if it's endurance, they're suggesting that you lose 10% of your performance for every 2% that you're dehydrated. So at the risk of flogging a dead horse on this, I just thought I'd double down and flog a dead horse on it anyway. Dehydration off the bat, you're going to experience reduced endurance, potentially a decrease in strength and power, impaired coordination and agility, increased risk of muscle cramps. Cramps? Oops. Elevated heart rate and core temperature, reduced blood volume. You've got impaired cognitive performance, and if you've only got 2 brain cells like me and can't read off the screen, then you're going to need that. You've got slowed reaction time, reduced concentration and focus, mood changes, increased risk of heat-related illness, prolonged recovery. So it's really, really, really important if you want your brain to function properly, like mine is not, to take this sporting ick seriously and take your hydration seriously. And I feel like that, I feel like maybe that makes my ick more justified, but just bring your water bottle into the gym. Bring your water bottle into the gym, bring it into the boat, bring it to the training session. Do not underestimate, especially in the summer weather, how dehydrated you can get. And last week with Esme, I spoke a bit about some of the high points of my rowing career where I was dehydrated during a seat racing situation and literally got such bad cramps I thought I was going to shit myself. So anyway, now I literally have the statistics on it. So just don't be that person. And the other sporting ick that I have is, and you can't really help it because it's when you get dressed. So it's a two-parter. If you go into a training session and you've got a label sticking out, that's fine. The ick comes in where your teammates don't tell you. And I just think, just don't let your teammate walk around with the label hanging out. Maybe it's niche, maybe it's not quite a full-on sporting ick, but I believe good teammates should tell you when your label is hanging out the back of your sports bra. And also, if you're doing a long session and it's flapping around, maybe it's my ADHD, but I can't look at it. It's so distracting to me. So good teammates, you've got a label hanging out, and bad teammates let you walk around like a lemon with it hanging out. Before we dive into that, summer season for sport is mental. There's so many different sporting events going on. There's a lot of stress. You're trying to plan your holiday alongside. You're trying to plan some downtime. You've got one event happening one week, then you're gone again, then you're back again, then you're gone again. And if you are part of my younger audience, one, I'm so sorry for my language, but this is how real women talk sometimes. And two, you've probably got A-levels, GCSEs, you've got all your A-level parties. You might be heading down to Boardmasters or something like that. I don't know, Reading Festival, I think, is a big one too. So you've got a busy life, and the last thing on your sort of junior career is these competitions before you sort of break up at the end of the year and get ready to go to university, or you have your gap year and many a thing into the beyond that you might be up to. It's quite a stressful period. And so I just wanted to share something that I actually read the other day, and it was on TikTok, but I feel like you do actually get some good information off there sometimes. And maybe, I'm starting to sound like my mum with Facebook, but I thought this was actually really good to share in this very, very stressful time that is summer racing season, summer competing season. So it goes like this. If you hate everyone, eat something. If you feel everyone hates you, take a nap. And if you feel you hate yourself, then take a shower. And those are just 3 pointers, but I read them the other day and I was like, I freaking wish someone had told me about this, because that literally will change the game for me. So I'll just repeat that. If you hate everyone and you're getting cranky, it probably means you need to eat something. If you feel everyone hates you, or you feel a bit insecure in a social situation, you're probably a little bit tired, and if you can, go and take a nap. If you feel you hate yourself, and I'm not talking, the depths of depression here, that's not what this is about. This is, you're feeling a little insecure, or you're feeling quite negative towards yourself, take a shower. Take an everything shower. Wash your hair. You'll feel a lot better after this. So I just felt that was important to share. Moving on, my hill to die on this week is racing rituals. And I've decided to die on a hill about race rituals this week because I am in support of them. I'm not in support of them so much that if it goes wrong, nothing can now go right and that's the end of the world. I am just a big believer of fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So doing your race rituals, or doing any sort of form of preparation that you can do before a race, you do it the same way each time to the best of your ability to get the best results out of yourself. So be it a race, be it a competition, being like a exhibition, or whatever it is that you're doing over this summer. I used to go into things so blindly, and it really made a big difference for me. And the other reason why I thought it would be really good to talk about is I went to an event this weekend where a team had come down from Liverpool and they hadn't come down with their coach, or their coach couldn't make it. So I just thought this episode and this Dying on the Hill actually could be quite helpful. So if you are in a situation where you've trained yourself and you don't have a coach, you could use some of these timings to, help yourself out. And people can be quite private, but I don't need them anymore. I don't race anymore. So why can't somebody else benefit from it? But I also think that these pre-race rituals and timings and things like that have helped prepare me for other things I need to be on time for. So interviews, travel abroad, and just sort of, they can feed into everyday life. And what I mean by that is what I did in the lead up to a race. And that sort of started the night before. So obviously we're going to go shit, shower, shave, because you're going to get the best out of any situation if you've got all three of those things done. Obviously you've got your own preferences, so that's not an essential, but that was my essential. I've finished competing now, and I feel like I don't mind sharing all of my bowel movements I felt were essential to the world. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know what you're on about, I'm have regular bowel movements, it's all right. You can show off, tell the world, I'm very jealous, but mine fluctuate with my menstrual cycle. And if I'm competing before my menstrual cycle, or days before my menstrual cycle, I'm hotter, I'm more likely to vomit, and 9 times out of 10, I will not have been able to go to a poo the morning before my race. And we all know that's when you do your best performances, is when you manage to have a poo the morning of your competition. So this is, as I said, so niche to an individual. Like, this is something you will have practiced with a team, or you're a lone athlete. And so I'm not saying this is what you now have to do. I'm saying listen to this, if you like, and pick out any pointers that you think you might want to take on board. So my race day routine went a little bit like this, and we're going to start the night before. So the night before, I pack my bag with everything I might need. I've got a list of bits that you might need. I can do a to-do if you like. Oh yeah, here we go. So I'm actually going to put this this scrap of paper from 2022 on my Instagram. So this is actually a list of my absolute non-negotiables. So we definitely got other things in this bag, and I will go to an event in normal clothes or comfortable clothes as well. So this is not everything, but these are the absolute essentials, non-negotiables. If I don't have these, then there is a chance I'll be going down the course in, my knickers and a sports bra. So things to bring: an all-in-one ×2. You never know what's going to happen in your racing kit. Something might happen, you might need to change. Leggings, long sleeve, non-negotiables, even if it's hot weather. A short sleeve sports bra, duh, we've spoken about that with Lola. Socks, always use your best socks. I thought that said sweats. Sweets, lunch, caffeine, stroke coach, brackets, charge that, sunglasses, water bottles ×2, rigger jigger, and sun cream. So that's how I would pack my bag. I would then have dinner. Dinner is normally quite a light thing the day before racing, so I would try and have something with fish because I find it easier to digest, some form of salad, vegetables, and some sweet potatoes because I find them a bit easier to digest as well. So then I would have an everything shower because look good, race good. And then I would write out my timings for the next day. If you're competing as part of a team, those should be locked in a few days before with the rest of the group so everyone knows exactly where you need to be at what time and how it's going to go down. I am a bit of a stickler for this. I feel like it has to be pen to paper because that's the best way to sort of, in my brain, really make sure I've got something locked in. If you're very modern and very techy and you feel like putting it in your notes is just as good, then that's fine. But I really love and recommend having something very tangible so that you can take the list with you in a piece of paper, and you can also put pen to paper in the first place. So I've got the timings in front of me. This is for a race in 2022, a final trial that I did with my pairs partner, Annie. Let me just talk you through the morning as an example. So the race is at 9:40. And I would always, when you're doing these timetables, work back from the start time of the race. So don't work from the wake up time, work from the start time of the race. We've started with a 9:40 race time. That's when they're going to go, attention go. So we've got a 9:40 race time. That means we're going 40 minutes before the race to boat. So we're boating at 9 o'clock. So 8:50, we're meeting at the boat. This gives us a chance to do any last minute chats, any last minute checks that needs to happen before we go down to the competition area. 8:40, last wee-wees. Maybe you need to take a caffeine gel, whatever that might be. 8:15 is when we would start our land warm-up. So that gives us a nice chunk of time, 8:15 to 8:40 to get ready. In that time, we would check the boat or check your sporting equipment. And then prior to that, we've done a race pre-paddle at 7:15 and we've arrived at 7 a.m. It keeps going. This list is long. So in order to arrive at 7 a.m., I've left where I lived at the time at 6:25 and I've woken up at 5:30 in order to make sure that I had enough time awake prior to racing. So when I got up at 5:30, I had breakfast, I checked my bag again, I went for a walk and I had a shower. So I had an hour to do all of those things to make sure I was absolutely ready. And it was actually a success, that race. So that's why I'm using that timeline. Otherwise, I could have used some other timelines that were just absolutely fucking useless. I think the main thing to remember is if you are racing in the morning, you need to be up 4 to 5 hours prior to that race time. It's really important that you get your body moving and prepped in order for what you need it to do in 4 or 5 hours time. Don't lie in until 2 hours before and then just roll out of bed and go and crack on. You're not going to get the best out of yourself. So 4 to 5 hours before a sporting performance, try and make sure you're up, out of bed, had breakfast, and you've moved in some way, shape or form. Another one of my timing tips is make sure if you have breakfast around the time of your race, or if you've got lunch around the time of your race or competition, try and make sure you finish eating any big meals 2 hours before the race start time. And then in that 2 hour window before the race start time, you might want to have any little snacks, sweets, or easy sugar things along with your hydration of choice. So that might be a sports drink, or it might be water, or it might be water with some squash. So that was just my final timing tip for you, if you like. So the next section of the podcast is usually favourite sporting moment, and I've actually listed 3 here. My favourite sporting moment is actually more of a like an everyday moment, and that was always being part of the team. I never really got a big kick out of any sort of form of solo performance, but I did get a really big kick out of being part of a team, part of a women's team, everyone sort of mucking in together, looking out for each other, looking after each other. I got a kick out of training in large groups and, being good in a large group, but also just being part of a large group and not being the only one in a situation. There was always somebody else, or somebody was there supporting you, or you were there supporting someone else. My other 2 favourite sporting moments was watching the juniors I used to coach succeed. That was so fulfilling for me. They could be succeeding in their racing, or one of them used to be quite anxious about public speaking, and we had lots of conversations about that prior to an A-level examination. And then a few weeks later, she came back to tell me she got 100% in that A-level speaking assessment. A favourite sporting moment, not necessarily linked to sport. I think she was studying PE, so I guess there's a sports link. But being able to help people was a huge thing. And the third favourite sporting moment is since publishing the podcast, I've had so many conversations with so many different women, and some of them have been like, I really love it. And some of them have been like, I really love it. I want to talk about something on the podcast. I want to come on. I want to share a story. So I think I've been so lucky in that, but also that's such a cool sporting moment to have so many people want to be involved. Also, I've had people reach out, say, you coached me 7 years ago and now I'm still in the sport. Or, we rode together a few years ago and I'm still in the sport and I absolutely love it. And there's all sorts of different bits, but those are definitely my favourite sporting moments. Which which leads us very tidily into the best section, which is best fuck up. And staying on theme with these big sporting events that are happening, so it might be like a high rocks or Hydrox, I'm not sure how you say it. Might be some form of CrossFit event, might be some form of tennis event. Cycling might have something going on at the moment. Rowing's definitely got Henley Royal coming up and multiple sort of world championships coming up. Running, an Ironman, whatever it is. So staying on those themes, I thought I would link one of my best fuck ups to that. So in 2019, I was selected to represent Great Britain at the Under-23 European Championships, and it was a fantastic event. It was a great project to be part of, but it was my first sort of outing for the national team, and I thought it would be great to paint my nails ready for the race. I thought that'd be a great thing to sort of wind down and do that with my roommate at the time. Unfortunately, you did get so sort of wound down while I was painting my nails and then, subsequently playing Candy Crush to sort of, stay calm, whatever. My ADHD time blindness sort of kicked in and literally nearly missed the bus to get to the final. So I guess the theme for this week is timings. I think after that, I got used to sort of setting alarms, but when I needed to be somewhere, even if I was awake, because I really would just lose track of time so quickly or so easily. But my nails did look good, I think. I painted them red, ready to go and race. Now, if we're going to follow the usual way of the podcast, we've got to talk about how did I fund a sporting career? And I was very transparent when we had Saskia on a few weeks ago that I was actually sponsored by a company for, I think, 2 years. And I've also had a student loan while I was a student athlete. But in the meantime, I did work often 2 jobs at once in order to fund the sporting career. So one of those was coaching, and one of those was working in Jack Wills in retail. Some of the other bits that I did do that I know people who know me did know this as well. So a side hustle, if you will, that I did once or twice with a friend. So I was still being safe, using Find My Friends, and I would absolutely not condone this to anybody, but I have been on a date in my prior life for a little bit of cash. And I mean, fucking sue me. We had such a good time, me, my friend, and our date. And it was so jokes because we were there together and we left the evening with a nice little envelope of cash. The man we met was a little Chinese guy called Kevin. Shout out, my guy. We have a lovely dinner, lovely chat. And then me and my friend went home. It's all fine. And it was actually great because I was about to go on an altitude training camp and the university had said they would pay for it, but they then didn't pay for it. And the national team needed it to be paid for. And I didn't have the money. But after my lovely little date, Chinese Kevin, and my lovely friend Jess, I did. And that was one problem solved. And don't hate the player, hate the game. One of the other side hustles, I don't really know how this sort of came into fruition, but I think this guy knew a friend of mine. Anyway, he would send me money to buy specific shoes. I would then buy the shoes, take a picture of me trying them on, and then be like, yeah, they're great. I love them. I can't wait to wear them. And then I would send them back and get the refund, and he would be none the wiser. And neither of these fully funded my sporting career. However, they did give me a little bit of extra money to go on a training camp. I just find it entertaining, but that you got to do what you got to do. We have got female advice. So the best bit of female advice that I ever received, well, I've had loads. I've got 3 here, but the best bit of female advice I ever received was when looking at training program for the week, choose your A, B, and C sessions. Which sessions need 110%? And that's not that the other sessions need less, but which sessions need all of your cognitive attention, which ones need all of your physical attention, and make sure you're picking ones that are actually specific to what you need as well. So when I was training, I needed a lot of weights focus because I lacked a lot of strength. So I would always pick a few weight sessions to focus on, and also one speed session. You might be really naturally strong, but you struggle with speed or you struggle with being very explosive. So you might need to focus on different sessions. But looking at a week's worth of training and being able to pick 3 sessions, an A, B, and C, that you're going to focus and give 110% to, that really helped me. It helped me target my training a lot better. So I'm not talking about, the long bikes that you might be doing to build an aerobic base. They still need effort, but they don't need every single brain cell you have left focusing on what you're doing. I'm talking about speed training, explosive training in the weights gym, or, building of strength in the weights gym. Or maybe you need to do some technical work. And so one of your sessions for that week is going to be a technical session, which doesn't really require a lot of energy in terms of physical power, but it does require you to use a lot of cognitive power. So you need to make sure you're rested for that session. You've got a clear goal of what that session is going to be so you can execute it to the best of your ability. Female advice I've got written down here is less related to sport, but I still think it's relevant because with all these sporting events, 9 times out of 10, there's a good night out afterwards. And so my female advice is boots and a dress. So the great thing about boots is normally if you're wearing a long dress, you can hide it. But if you're wearing a short dress, it still looks good. You can fit all sorts of things in your boots, and then you don't need a handbag. So your ID, that can go in your boot. Your lip gloss, that can go in your boot. Hip flask, maybe. Don't know how you go for a night out, but that's how I go for a night out. They're more comfortable. Your toes are going to get less mashed up on the dance floor, and you don't need a handbag. So that's my female advice for you there. What are we listening to in the gym? So I'm not actually in the gym anymore, but my soundtrack of the week, so what I get ready to in the morning, is sort of 2 opposites. We've got Pitbull and we've got Ray's new release, which is Suzanne. And they are absolutely polar opposites to the scale. But if I need to get out of bed quickly, I'm going to put Pitbull on and have a boogie to that while I get dressed in the mornings. And if I don't need to rush, or I'm just sort of need a song to fill the space, then I'm definitely putting on Ray's Suzanne. Thank you so much for listening to this solo episode. It's actually very difficult to yap for a full 30 minutes on your own, but luckily I am slightly delusional, so I didn't find it too difficult, but I hope you found it interesting and there were some really good takeaways from it for you. So thank you very much, and business will resume as normal next week with a guest. Bye bye.